My name is James Hopkins. I am the CEO of Hopkins Coaching and the head coach of the Lifestyle Marketeer program.
Can you tell me a bit about what you do?
Of course. So basically I work with expats who are working a job, doing something that they don't necessarily want to do just to sustain their life abroad. I help them learn the skills, give them the tools, give them the tactics, give them the training, the coaching, the support that they need to succeed in their own digital advertising business.
So you call yourself an entrepreneur. What does entrepreneurship mean to you?
Such a great question. What does entrepreneurship mean to me? To me, entrepreneurship means freedom. I'd go as far to say as entrepreneurship, means freedom more than anything. It means hard work. It means being self-motivated. It means being disciplined. But by and large, it really means freedom, right? For me, there's not really any other alternative to achieving freedom other than to become an entrepreneur, because your only other option is to be an employee and work for somebody else, trading your time, essentially working to make them rich. So to me, being an entrepreneur is about freedom.
At what point in your life did you realize, or did you start becoming an entrepreneur?
Yeah, another great question. So if I kind of think back to my time in school, when I was about 12, maybe 13, 11, 12, 13, that was kind of my first taste of entrepreneurship. And I used to go into a sweet shop and buy sweets for like 10p chew bars, 10p sweets. And I used to take them into school and I used to sell them for 20 pence. So I was basically doubling my money. And every day that I was going to school kind of felt, to me, at one point, I remember actually saying this to my mum, school actually started to feel like a day of business, and it started to feel like a day of making money. And this was, like I said, 11, 12, 13 years old. And that kind of trend never really stopped in a lot of the things that I've kind of done in my life and in my career. But that was really the first time when I kind of got a taste for entrepreneurship and what it was like to kind of turn, 10 pence in 10 pence chew bar into a 20 pence profit, ultimately, doubling my money. And like I said, I was 11, 12, 13 years old. That was my first real taste. And then kind of from there, that obviously wasn't a big special business or anything like that. That was just more like a hobby. And then from there, over my adult life, there's been, I guess, several or many different times where I've tried my hand at entrepreneurial things, most of which were largely unsuccessful when first starting out. So yeah.
Brilliant. When did you start taking entrepreneurship seriously?
So when I started taking it seriously was specifically while I was working at a call center in Chiang Mai in Thailand when I was around about 21, 22 years old. And I realized that I didn't want to be trading my time. I was literally making $500 a month in this call center. And I realized that I didn't want to be doing that. I didn't want to be teaching English. And those were really the only two options that I actually had to make money abroad, like I said, in Thailand. Savings started running out. I needed a way of making money. And when I was working in the call center, I realized I didn't want to be doing this. And the only real option that I had to create the life that I wanted, to be able to travel where I wanted to go, to be able to spend my time doing what I wanted to do rather than being stuck with a headset on in a call center. That was the time when I realized that I was going to have to take it seriously if I actually wanted this thing to be my full career, right? And that was around about, I think, 22 years old. And at that point, that was when I realized I needed to take it seriously to replace the career in the call center. So I got into doing freelance work through Upwork. I was introduced to that by somebody who was working in the call center at the time. And then from there, I earned my first dollars online I was making about $4 an hour working for a video production company. And from there, I basically built my skills and experience in digital advertising, in video production, and the things that I was doing at the time. I built those skills up over the last 5 or 6 years and have turned that into a multiple 7-figure online business. But that was the first time when I realized I needed to take it seriously, not that I just wanted to, because I didn't want to be trading my time working a job for somebody else for any longer, to be honest.
Brilliant. And what are the 3 biggest lessons you've learned since becoming an entrepreneur?
Sure, the 3 biggest lessons. Number 1, and you'll hear me if you listen to any of my other content or engage with me in any other place, you'll hear me talk about this a lot. Personal development. So what does personal development mean? To me, personal development means looking after your mind, your body, and ultimately, staying connected with your soul and your kind of spiritual side. That for me wasn't something that I learned straight away, but that for me over the last year or 2, since I've really, hit 7 and multiple 7 figures, that for me has been one of the biggest lessons. And that's that, especially when you're an entrepreneur, when you're starting a business, you are the business, right? And if you don't look after yourself, if you don't look after your body, if you don't look after your mind, if you don't look after the spiritual side of yourself, then that has a negative effect on who you show up as in your business, and that obviously has an impact on who wants to work with you and your clients and all of these things as well. So number 1 has to be personal development, a never-ending focus on personal development, whether that's physical or mental. Number 2 has to be that money isn't the most important thing. Right, so we've had months where we've hit $160,000, $170,000 a month, but those months have never felt like the best, most fulfilling months that I've ever had in business. And actually hitting numbers like that, I know it sounds insane now sitting on the other side, and literally only 2-3 years ago I was looking at people who were in that situation going, oh my God, I wish I could hit those kind of numbers and have that kind of life. And now I'm on the other side of it. I actually realized that the money isn't the most important thing. Like money for any entrepreneur, anyone who's in business, they're in business because they want to make money. But they're also in business because they want to have an impact. And that for me, realizing, and it wasn't that long ago, within only the last kind of few months, within the last year, I actually realized that the most fulfillment that I get out of building a business is not seeing bigger and bigger numbers at the end of every month. And I kind of felt myself get stuck in this treadmill of chasing numbers ultimately. And one of the most important lessons that I've learned recently, and this is kind of comes from like in my heart really, is that the best place I kind of get fulfillment in business now is from client results. And it's from seeing clients having a really great experience working with me and my team, and getting really great results. And that for me is arguably now more important than seeing bigger and bigger numbers at the end of each month. Lesson number 3 is discipline. So one thing that you have to learn from a very early, this will be way more relevant for anybody who's thinking about starting a business who hasn't quite yet, is when you're first starting out, the biggest thing that people struggle with, myself included, is discipline. Because everybody, typically has a job and goes to work and does all of those kind of things throughout their entire life, and they don't have to have personal discipline because they've already got external discipline of people saying you need to show up at this time, and you need to come to work, and you need to do this and do that and blah blah blah. That when you start out as an entrepreneur, you need to develop a skill set of personal discipline and being able to hold yourself accountable to doing the small activities, the small tasks every day that don't feel like they're moving the needle, but over time they compound out. And that's what produces the results. So for me, discipline, and if anybody wants a recommendation on a book that taught me self-discipline, it's called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. So if you're looking for something that you can actually read and digest that will help you with your self-discipline when you're starting out in your entrepreneurial career, check out The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. It's been an absolute life-changing, game-changing book for me. So those are the 3 biggest lessons that come to the top of my head right now.
Perfect. So we're going to wrap it up here. Do you have any advice for someone wanting to become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, for sure. So the most important thing, I think, when anybody's starting out, just kind of going back to how I thought, my thought processes before I, succeeded in entrepreneurship and my own business, has to be to take imperfect action. So, and I see this now with people who apply to work with us, or even people who are trying to start their business through working with us, that they get stuck and paralyzed sometimes in a perfection. They're trying to make everything perfect before they actually just do it, right? They're trying to make sure that they know everything before they start taking the steps that are required to learn everything. And therefore it doesn't work like that. Like, you can't prepare yourself for everything that is possibly going to happen in your business and in your entrepreneurial journey. The best and most impactful thing you can do is get used to taking imperfect action. Get used to actually doing it. Get used to getting it wrong. Try and get it right, but if you get it wrong, which you will many, many times, it doesn't matter what you try and do, you will get it wrong many, many times until you get it right often. So if you're thinking about starting a business, if you're thinking about getting into entrepreneurship and you're thinking everything is going to be plain sailing and everything's going to be perfect, like it's not. What you have to expect is imperfect action. You have to expect to be pushed outside of your comfort zone, because being outside of your comfort zone is where the lessons happen, right? And the lessons happen in those things that you try to do which don't succeed, in the failures. So being scared to fail is for me like nonsense, because if you're scared to fail, that ultimately means you're scared of the only thing that is going to help you change, and the only thing that's going to help you learn lessons and drive the needle and develop as a person. Right? So for anybody who's thinking about it, don't be scared to fail. Take imperfect action, learn the lessons as you go, and that way on your journey, on your path, every obstacle you overcome, it'll shape you as a character, and that's what ultimately will lead you to evolve and become the person that you need to be to run a successful business and to live the life that you want to live. Right? My name is James Hopkins, the Lifestyle Marketeer. Thank you for tuning in and listening today. If you like what you heard, click the bell notification, subscribe so you get notifications when I release new content, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace out.